Hey folks, gonna do a quick review. May 17th, 2023. Check out the internals here. Today was a crazy day. Right at the open, we had a gap up on SPY. I actually ended up catching a small short here. I didn't go full size, but when you have a gap up on SPY here, we had a gap up on tick. We're already pushing that high extreme that I've pointed out in the past videos. Also, TRIN, if we take a closer look, yesterday's session was cramming up here against the 1.5, bearish, potentially, oversold area. It saw us reject the 1.1, kind of that neutral zone, balance zone, and took a bet that we'd try to do one more visit up on highs on TRIN. I also noticed that ADD was starting out already cooking pretty hot at 1500, and noticed right away it's starting to come down. So notice these candles here. We started at 1500-ish, and before SPY really started to dump, we're already what is that, 200, 150 down. Meanwhile, there was a divergence with VOLD starting more at the 0 point. So in the past, I've seen a divergence between these two, the VOLD and the ADD. There's usually a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit of skew, where one needs to catch up with the other one. Well, really, it's the market. The volume is going into advancing or declining stocks. Meanwhile, predominantly declining stocks are in command. So it's kind of this weird dichotomy of the volume not in agreement with the overall sentiment. Anyway, so yeah, I took that short. It went small size because it overall I'm seeing that yes, we're in the bullish area on ADD. VOLD is over 0. I'm also looking at things like VIX. It just made sense to go ahead and give it a shot. So it did work. It wasn't a big play by any means. I'm also watching tick here around negative 500 and 0. We spent a lot of time yesterday when we sold off below 0. So today, with ADD being way over 0, way up at the high end, I'm thinking potentially we could have a bullish day. Need to see that though, right, in the rest of the data. Need to start seeing trends break down. I wanted to see VOLD and ADD actually in agreement. VIX was also kind of moving up, trying to test that 18 level. So yeah, so the morning session provided some opportunities. There were some rebound longs. There's some really weird action here. I couldn't figure it out. It seemed like Biden maybe had a speech on YouTube. I tried to find it, but it looked like it had already been done. So I don't know that really explains this. If anybody knows, leave a comment. By this point, I was already long with a debit spread. I did have a mental stop around the 200 SMA, so I did get out, but then I re-entered once I saw that there really was no reason for this dump. And by that point, all the internals were mostly showing me bullish signs. I'm checking various names, and there's nothing really dumping off. So I thought this would be short-lived, and it was. So you can see right around, let's see, what is this, 10 o'clock, we had much better alignment between the ADD and VOLD. VOLD started to curl up after a small dip when the SPY cut below here, and the ADD around 10 right here with VOLD both started curling up. So that was really nice. That gave me a lot of confidence for upside today. And so watching this action, getting back in towards this high a day here, the thing that I thought was very interesting, and this is something you can watch if you're using the internals for your trading, is what's TRIN really doing? Today was really bizarre. Just hugging right this 0.9, 0.7 range the entire session, really up until about when this rip happened. So another tip for you, there's certain times of day, folks know, open has a lot of volatility, a lot of volume, a lot of potentially can have some follow through. And I mentioned it in the first video that I did on market internals on this channel, first video on this channel. 12:30, usually something. 1:30, potentially something. So it's not a surprise to me. Around 12:30, So when we finally saw TRIN start to make a smooth transition down here, further into that bullish zone, closer to 1.5, we really started to see, by 12:30, VIX rejected 18. It's no longer spending any time there, and it's heading back down to 17.5, which is really insane. And by 12:30, you can see here on tick, we spent the entire morning basically above zero, right? So when you see this again, like I said before, chunk these bars up and ask yourself, challenge yourself to understand, observe, like, where are the majority of these candles? Are they above zero or below? So here, definitely all morning, right? Above zero. We had a small chunk here on that dip. We basically tested this gap here, the gap up, right? So about 0.5 of the gap. Not a shock. I think that's almost exactly where this weird news wick sent us. I guess the gap would technically be more like up here because that was opening price. But so yeah, this 12:30, important. Remember that time. It's not really to do with market internals, but this is a review of the market and how I use it internals. So I feel like including it. But anyways, so yeah, I mean, we see this huge rip. TRIN is still acting wonky kind of through this whole rip. And I think a lot of that has to do with some of these, stocks, whatever stocks are pushing that late in the day. I haven't looked at like sector analysis heat maps or anything to see what was really ripping, other than I know like Apple finally got in line and some other stocks, big names, but I'd be curious to know what parts of the New York Stock Exchange were really ripping today and which ones weren't, because it did take a while for us to finally see some really good price action on ADD and VOLD with this rip, but TRIN still just looking kind of odd today. There's definitely a couple times where I caught myself just not even really paying attention to TRIN just because of how weird and wonky it was. So I don't know if it was just some data skew. It does happen from time to time. Really great move. Again, market internals really helped me read this very well. It definitely took large advantage of this move. I probably caught 50-75% of this move, so it was a good day. You can see pretty much for the rest of the day we stay over 1500. I've said in the previous videos, I like to see the SMA 20 on these charts, especially when we have a trending day, because it just kind of helps you see potentially when is the run done, right? Like, this is just an insane rip. This is top of this range, previous high day from the morning at 412, and we hit almost 416, which that's almost a $4 move. So that's a big day for SPY. And you can see right here, right when ADD at 1404, price closed below the 20 SMA. It's actually the same time SPY does. And that's a pretty good signal for me anyways. The run's done. And yeah, maybe you could have scalped a couple things, but if you caught the majority of this move, what more do you need? Time to close the charts. Unless you just like watching. I like watching. But yeah, VOLD, you can see, continued to just rip. So I think there were some other stocks that aren't heavily weighted in SPY that were really taken off. I don't know. I didn't look at the Dow. I didn't. I did look at the Qs today, but I didn't look at IWM, the Russell. Perhaps there's some explanation for that, why we had such a tear on VOLD. I've been seeing this the past couple days, though, where VOLD is just ripping like crazy in one direction or another really hard, and ADD is not feeling it as much. Again, I do think that's why TRIN is kind of acting a little wonky, but it is still serving as a fantastic indication of balance. Or if it's in the balance zone and it's chopping around kind of like this, if it was up here, it means that VOLD and ADD are probably not in agreement, and you're going to see a lot of sideways action, a lot of chop. Not worth trading. When the internals are clear, that's when I have my best trades, when I don't have to do any kind of extra hard analysis or brain work, and that's when I have my best trading days. So that's typically what I look for. If I don't see it, then I'll either massively reduce risk, or not trade at all. I'm trying to do these a little faster. This pretty much wraps up the review of market internals today for May 17th. So hope you found it useful. If you have questions, you know what to do. Happy trading.